I have to confess to you, I played a part in your father's murder. And they'd say, neighbor, I knew that. And they said, why didn't you? They respond to him, why didn't you tell me? He said, I was waiting on you. And they would be within 24 hours or so of death, and they'd ask Daddy, would you pray for me? So there's another bridging the gap. He forgot what he witnessed at approximately 12 years old, seeing Granddad's head being shot off. And so he ministered that priestly legacy that he was.
Did he stay close with his brothers all through his life, as long as they were alive? Woodrow, Alma, all that.
Yes, Woodrow the most, because Woodrow was the one that lived here in Crestview. Mm-hmm. Yes, sure did.
I went through some pretty hard stuff over the years. I know Woodrow's daughter died in an accident. It was pretty awful.
That was Alma's daughter.
Alma's daughter.
For the record, that was Alma's daughter.
Okay.
Yes, she was killed by a drunk driver.
Yeah, it sounded like it was pretty.
And Dad responded to the accident, and the drunk driver she was on her way to church, walking to church, and the drunk driver drug her, I think, 100 yards, and she was
young. She was like 16 or 17, right?
Yeah. She was a beautiful girl too.
When was that? Was that within the past 10 years?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was in the late 1960s.
Late 1960 sounds about right.
Yeah. How was he in his final day? Like as he was dying and as he was getting ready to pass away. What was he like? Did he talk about regrets or anything like that? What was his state of mind?
Well, he had dementia and Alzheimer's.
I didn't know he had Alzheimer's.
Oh yes, he was in the Alzheimer's unit in Fort Walton Beach Nursing Home on 3rd Avenue for a pretty good while.
So sometimes his memory would come in and out, I assume, right?
Yes. Okay. And but he was very forgiving. I will say before he went in, he was very supportive of me in front of all the businessmen, the locals that are his age group that would meet at Ryan's restaurant. All these folks in their 70s and 80s would meet and about once a month, and he introduced me when I moved back here, and told them that he was pretty rough on us as young children, but that he was well pleased, and that made me feel good because I had never received the affirmation of a father. A lot of men need an affirmation, and women do too. So even though he did affirm me, and I appreciated that very much, and he trusted me for his life's safety during that period.
How interesting that when you were a little 4 years old, he had to kind of scurry you away. He had to kind of hide you away during that trial. And
yes, I do remember being placed in Orlando.
Yeah.
And he later told me there was some life safety issues when I was a little older. That's what that was about.
But did you know at the time that was going on?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What I asked you a few things about your mom. Did your mom ever talk about his career? What was she like? She seemed so supportive.
She was. Of course, Mother. I don't know if you've ever seen the picture of the last hanging in Crestview in front of the old jail where our new courthouse now stands.
Yeah.
I lived in that jail. The
yeah.
sheriff in 1956 had an apartment there, and when you're right next to where you saw the old gallows, and of course nowadays they'd call it nepotism, but back in those days, Daddy needed to cook, and so Mother was the cook. And then over the years, she became. At that time there was no state regulatory agencies for child abuse, women abuse, rape, and she became the child abuse and rape investigator. Mom also worked, I assume, 10 or 15 years as a dispatcher.
He made her a deputy for that stuff. He deputized her for that stuff. Right?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge. And but she, that was some of the precursors. Like I say, at that time, women couldn't talk to anybody but a man, so there was a lot of cases solved with having a female there too.
Sexual assault, stuff like that.
And child murders.
That's the way they, like if a woman comes with rape, they try to get a female officer to talk to them and makes them.
Yeah, I don't know if this print this or not, but one of the little girls that was raped and murdered here in the Crestview area, a lady called her when she was in dispatch, and she began to describe we were out in the woods. I was with another man. Well, she didn't say I was with another man, and she says, I think I saw a gravesite. And my mother picked up in her discernment that this woman, she says, were you with another man? Are you married, young lady? She said, yes. And I can't come forward, but I can't sleep thinking about the little girl may be buried here in Crestview, bound by the river somewhere. And she said, she negotiated with her. She said, just tell me where it's at. And they found the little girl's body, and they found the hubcap right nearby that it fell off the truck of the murderer. And they drove up to this guy's house, and he was clearing out the clay and his shovels off the back of the truck. His hubcap was missing, so that little girl's murder was solved. I'm just saying that was one of her little legacies.
I know she really did a lot for the community over the years. I've read some stuff like that where she, been right by his side, and man, it's I didn't want to. Just want to do a few follow-up things with you today, but that pretty much covers it. I did want to talk to you, get your comment about, because to the end of the story, what we're going to do is go through and essentially say what happened to everyone over the years.
Right.
Better or worse, but in this case, I think it's important that, Ray's obviously not around to tell his side of the story, so. I can't think of anything else. I just wanted to make sure that I told you I'd follow up and see you face-to-face before it came out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I just want to establish the totality and that you would be inclusive of his total legacy.
I understand it. And I know the stuff, normal citizen stuff that happens at the IRS doesn't make it in the newspapers, but the chief of police and you get in a lawsuit with the bank or property stuff, it usually ends up in the paper. So it's not something that's not what the podcast is about, but just to tell the whole story. But as long as you're comfortable, I think you spoke very well about your father's side of things.
Yeah.
So.